When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins is your guide to picking winners. Godzilla Wins, on the screens of your TV and favorite devices, commanding radio airwaves far and wide. Before you make that play, hear what the Godzilla crew has to say. Presented by WestVirginiaSportsNation.com, it's time for Godzilla Wins, all across the John Fredericks Media Network. Oh yeah,
for entertainment purposes only.
Well, welcome. You're on Godzilla Wins. This is a special edition coming from the West Coast. We got two West Coasters here. I am in Bend, Oregon. Probably don't know where that is. Either do I. I got to go over a mountain from Vancouver, 3.5 hours. I guess that's south of Portland or Seattle or something. But I'm out in the West Coast here at the West Coast League. We'll get into that in a minute. And it's great to have everybody with us today. Looks like we got Matthew Lumsden, a former Clemson ball player standout. Now his team, of course, Clemson this afternoon at 12 o'clock Eastern, or is it 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock Eastern, playing the West Virginia Mountaineers in the NCAA tournament at the Clemson Regional. Clemson, an overwhelming favorite to win the tournament and to win that game, even though WVU had a big victory yesterday. Also with me, Coach Vince. Vince, how do I say your last name so I don't mangle it again?
Mayoko.
Vince Mayoko, coach of the
Taft College Cougars, a JUCO in Central California.
Well, you know what? It is good to have you with us as always. And Vince, want to thank you for all you've done for Joe, helping him get out here to the Ridgefield Raptors. We'll get into that in a minute. Brendan Statler with us, part of the West Virginia WVSportsNation.com, and want to congratulate Brendan also joining the John Fredericks Media Network as a sales executive starting on Monday, based in Fairmont, West Virginia. So, Brendan, welcome. And welcome everybody here. I have to read the disclaimer that my son sent me that he got on me for not reading the past 2 weeks. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. In Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, or Louisiana, Maryland, Minnesota, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia, 800-327-5050, 800-327-5050, or visit gamblinghelpline ma.org if you're in Massachusetts. And please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas or New Hampshire, 888-789-7777, or visit ccp.org in Connecticut, and 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, or visit opgr.org, where I am right now in Oregon. So it's good to have everybody with us here in Godzilla Wins. We've got a lot to talk about. Also, Chris Saxman just joining us. He looks like he's from Myrtle Beach down there. Chris, you got your Hawaiian shirt on?
That's St. Thomas Virgin Islands, and I got a Hawaiian shirt on because I just got finished cutting the grass. I need a little vacation. You know what I'm saying? So
I got it. So we got Sax with us. Guys, we got a ton to talk about today. Let me just start with where I am, which is Bend, Oregon, where in the West Coast League, which is kind of the West Coast version of the Cape Cod League, my son Joe out here pitching for the Ridgefield Raptors. That's Ridgefield, Washington. They're about 20 minutes, I guess that will be east of or west of Portland, where we threw into. Bend they opened here last night in Bend, about 3.5 hours away. But I tell you what, Vince, I know you're familiar with this league. There were probably 3,000 people last night for the home opener in Bend. The place was packed. It rocked here. This is quite the experience. Also, want to give Joe a shout out. He started the opener last night on Friday night. Pitched 3 2/3 inning, no earned runs, 1 hit, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. He looked really, really sharp. So I haven't seen him pitch in a while. Obviously, the debacle that happened in West Virginia, and also Joe, for those of you who don't know, entering the portal on June the 2nd, which is Monday, coming up in a couple of days. And you can follow him at Joe Fredericks. You can just Google, find him on X, Joe Fredericks. Anyway, guys, great to have you with us. Let's start right here with with Matthew Lumsden. Let's get right into the NCAA tournament. Big win yesterday for West Virginia, down 3-0, bottom of the sixth, coming back on a 2-run error, making it 3-2, then tying it, and then winning it on a walk-off sac fly by Armani in the bottom of the ninth inning. Now they got to play Clemson. Now the real work starts. Matthew, give us your breakdown of that game.
I mean, West Virginia doing what West Virginia does. They take advantage of mistakes. They execute typically when other teams shoot themselves in the foot. Yesterday was a prime example of that. Fell behind early 3-0. Kentucky had a couple soft blunders there, hurt themselves, and West Virginia did not fail to execute on them. So it was an exciting game, to say the least. Real work, as you said, definitely starts tonight. Got to start 2-0 in these regionals, puts you in a very, very good position.
Well, I tell you what, who do you think are they starting Jack, or are they going to start Chase? Have you heard?
From everything I've heard it's going to be Cart. Meyer, I would assume, is first guy out of the pen. I know Clemson's going with Knack, who's their ace. I mean, it's going to be a showdown. It's going to be prime time. It's going to be something to watch for sure. Don't want to miss it.
Yeah. You know what was interesting, and we'll get to Vince here and then go around the horn with some of the upsets yesterday. Oregon State getting upset, and they're hosting the regional by St. Mary's. Kind of a shocker. At the game last night in that's Oregon State Beavers, Bend, Oregon. There were a lot of Oregon State fans there, and they couldn't believe they were getting beat by St. Mary's. I just wanted to tell you that. But been interesting yesterday. Grant Hussey, leader, West Virginia home run leader all time, sits on the bench. They start your brother at first base, not a traditional first baseman. Both of them are left-handed batters, so not a righty-lefty matchup. Your brother Ben getting a key sack bunt there in that 2-run inning, but or in the inning that they tied at 3-3. They also benched Swain, their third baseman. They benched Spencer Barnett, their third baseman. They were out. They put in Armani, who ended up getting the sac fly at the end. So, but benching a senior that leads the team in all-time homers, what was that about? I mean, it was certainly good for your brother, but what was that thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, brother aside, this time of year you got to win ball games. I'm not sure what the exact thought process was. Maybe it's kind of a wake-up call for Hussey. Just wants to get under his skin, fire him up a little bit. Might be back in there today. I'd be curious to see what happens. I don't know if that was just a fourth-year senior that maybe frustrations were going a little bit, expected more. As you said, career home run leader. I mean, that's a dude you rely on. He's a big leader of the team, carries the program, obviously has records. That's not something that happens every day. So I don't know if that was just kind of a wake-up call to him, try to get him motivated. And I'm sure if he's back in the lineup today, I doubt he'll miss a beat, and he'll have some frustration to take out on some baseballs, hopefully over into the cages in right field.
Well, we'll see what happens. And I know you got your Edmonton Oilers hat on. Hockey's a little bit later on in this segment. I'm going to get to Coach Vince in Bakersfield. Coach Vince, thanks for being with us, and thanks for getting Joe in this league. I got to tell you, it was an easy decision for us because of yourself and Coach Cotta recruiting him. But, you know, obviously getting out here from Washington, D.C., where almost 4,000 miles away. So it's kind of out in a different area. But so far, I got to tell you, your advice of him coming to this league has been fabulous. Everything we've seen has been great, and we're excited about it. So tell us a little bit about this league.
Well, it's I think you made the statement earlier in the show. It's the West Coast version of the Cape Cod on steroids, because there's a lot more teams. You mentioned the fan support. You're going to go to when Joe and his team goes down to Corvallis and plays the Corvallis Knights. They play their games at Goss Stadium where the Beavers play. And I hear during the summer they pack that joint in the summertime. It's kind of unlike the Cape Cod, where Cape Cod is more the facilities is a little more subdued, so to speak, where it's almost the version of a short A season, the way I look at it. I mean, they play every day. 3-game series. They take Mondays off occasionally, and even on off days on Mondays, they'll play some non-league games too. So they pull up, anywhere between 55 and 60 games during a 2.5 month season. It's good baseball. It's really good baseball, and there's no better place to be in the Northwest than during the summertime.
Well, I tell you what, in Bend, Oregon, last night there were at least 3,500 people. Tickets are $25. So this is like a money-making operation. But Saxman, they serve, I guess the bleacher seats might have been $10 or $15, but they're season ticket holders. They serve, they got grills. They serve a lot of food, a lot of alcohol. So that was kind
okay.
of
Okay.
We also heard they said that Matthew, you'll find this interesting in Edmonton because they have Canada teams. You got to get your passport or whatever to go there. But they said in Edmonton they draw 10 to 15,000 people a game. That's over what the Pirates draw, 10 to 15,000. And the Portland Pickles, which is carried, get this, it's carried on TV, on Portland local TV.
Wow.
They draw about 7,000 a game for the Portland Pickles. So, Vince, this is Saxman. I've never seen this for Summer Bowl. It's quite the experience. And the Bend, Oregon team had a guy throwing last night, 98. So these are some elite ball players here.
Wow.
Yeah, and I believe he's already committed to Oregon State, if I heard right.
Yes.
Through for Ben. No, it's a great league. It's a great league. Going to be a great experience for Joe. And it was kind of interesting, John, how that whole thing came to fruition. I think we hammered that thing out in like about a 4-hour period on a Wednesday while I was recruiting in Las Vegas. And it's funny. I reached out to Chris Cota, the head coach at College of the Canyons, who's the Ridgefield coach, and he said, "Let's do it." And then obviously we put yourself and Joe in contact with them, and boom, we had that thing knocked out by sunset.
Well, when you're working with people like yourself, Vince, who you trust their judgment, the decisions become easier to make. You don't really have to do a lot of work. I know you care about our family, and I know you care about my son. So, that came highly recommended. And look, he got the ball last night to start. And I got to tell you, Vince, he was as sharp as I've seen him in a very long time. Just that slider was elite last night. His changeup was working against right-handed
John,
hitters.
I that's the first time I've really seen him throw. I've seen clips of him. You're going to love this comparison. He's a poor man's Billy Wagner.
Oh,
I like that.
A 3/4 arm slot, short arm delivery, obviously a little shorter in stature than maybe some of your big dudes that are towing the bump. But I consider him a poor man's Billy Wagner, and that's not a bad comparison. Let's say that.
that's not bad.
Not for a Hall of Famer. It's not. Let's get to this big NCAA, the upsets yesterday. Let's start with St. Mary's, Saxman, knocking off Oregon State at home, the number 1 seed in their regional. What was your reaction to that, Chris?
You broke off. You got me?
Yeah, St. Mary's. Can you hear
Can't
me
hear
now? No. Okay. Why don't we get to Statler? St. Mary's big upset yesterday. Brenda, what was your reaction to that?
Shocking. I mean, who would have thought that I didn't even know St. Mary's was in this thing, and they come out with a victory yesterday. There were a lot of surprises yesterday. Even, Eastern Carolina shocked Florida. That was another shocker. So we got a lot of surprises so far, and I think we're going to have even more today.
What are some of the shockers you're looking at today?
I'm not seeing any shockers as far as the Clemson regional, what we're really paying attention to here in West Virginia. I think those are going to go as everyone expects. But I think Cincinnati is going to impress a lot of people. This is a much better ball team than they were earlier in the year. I mean, we've talked about this before, John, when Cincinnati came to Morgantown, how discombobulated they were. I think that Cincinnati can make a deep run in this thing. They looked pretty impressive last night, and I think they're going to get better from here.
Tell you, the other team you got to watch out for, Ben, is Arizona. They beat Cal Poly yesterday 3-2. They simply keep winning these close games. Do they have a shot in this thing, Matthew?
Yeah, no, I took Arizona to win that region. Clearly, we watched them in the series against Morgantown, watched them beat the brakes off of West Virginia in Arlington. They're good. Those top 3-4 hitters are elite, and the pitching staff has a ton of depth. Every dude's throwing 95, 96, and the weekend starters are legit. I fully expect them to come out of that region.
Saxman, can you hear me now? Chris?
Yeah, I got you now. Yeah.
Let's get to, there's another team in this thing that is very dangerous, and that is Creighton. They beat Kansas yesterday. They're a sneaky good team. They're in the Fayetteville Regional. Of course, Arkansas the favorite there, but look, you gotta win the games that's on your schedule. They trounced Kansas, who's a really good team, yesterday in that region. What do you see there, Saxman?
John, I didn't really pay attention to that regional. When I look at the College World Series, the college playoffs, I take a step back because the first round games are so important in these regional tournaments, and it gives you such a leg up. Visually, it's difficult to watch. I had 4 of them going on one screen last night, bouncing back because it seems like every camera angle is over the shortstop's head, so you can't pick up the strike zone if you're watching. So it's just flat out annoying because it's really good baseball, and I hate to see it. But that said, I sort of wait out the first round and then comment because so much rides in that first game, and they're still college kids. To Matthew's point about the inner workings of the clubhouse, and Coach can talk about this far more than anyone here. Sometimes you got to send a signal to your guys, and hopefully that works out for Westphal in that region.
This segment brought to you by WV Sports Nation. Go to WVSportsNation.com. WVSportsNation.com. You can sign up there. Everything about West Virginia athletics is there on WVSportsNation.com. Sign up for our daily newsletter that comes out right to your email. Then as soon as this show's over, you got to sign up for WVSportsNation.com. Same as Saxman. Neither of your name was on that list. Very disappointed. Matthews either. Sign up, WVSportsNation.com.
Hey, look, Santa Claus, you can check your list all you want to, Santa Claus, but that's not how you get someone to sign up. I'm just telling you right now.
I'm going to shame you guys on that.
Shaming for another email list? Fantastic. Way to go.
Yeah, but mine's the best, right? So you got to do that.
Okay.
Besides, there's a sponsor of the show that you're on, WVSportsNation.com. And on the show, the pay is short and the hours are long. So we all know about that. Okay, so staying with NCAA baseball, Coach Vince, if you're one of these top teams and you just got beat at home, like your Oregon State, what is your message? Now you're in the losers bracket.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think number 1 seeds are better equipped to lose the first game than a number 4 seed because chances are they got a deeper pitching staff. But just looking through the numbers yesterday, 4 national seeds got knocked off in their home yard. Southern Miss, Oregon State, the Oregon Ducks got knocked off in controversial fashion last night, and Ole Miss lost. And then you had 8 number 2 regional seeds that took a bite yesterday as well, too. If this was the NC2A basketball tournament, everybody would be up, their brackets would have been blown up, but it is baseball, it's double elimination. But your host teams have a better chance of coming back down 0-1 as opposed to a number 4 seed. I know this is more tailored towards West Virginia, kind of looking at West, a common opponent. You guys had mentioned the Arizona Wildcats earlier. And you think about Arizona. They went into Morgantown when West Virginia was clicking on all 8 cylinders and took 2 out of 3 early in the season. And you look back in time and go, those were a couple pretty good wins for the Wildcats to go into Morgantown that point of the year and get some wins in adverse climate, some weather that Arizona's not used to. They've got a great shot at coming out of their region.
Well, I'll tell you what, I picked them to win the Big 12 tournament. I know Matthew picked them to win in this region, but Matthew, we've seen them play now a bunch of times, right? We saw them play 3 times at Morgantown, and then we saw them play in Arlington for those games. This is a very dangerous team. They hit, they don't make an error. They have 3 or 4 different kids that come out of the pen. They have some elite starters. They have a closer. I mean, this is a team to be reckoned with, isn't it, Matthew?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I honestly think the disrespect towards the Big 12 was borderline ridiculous during this selection show. As Coach Vince said, obviously you got 4 1 seeds knocked off, 8 2 seeds. And then I think that just goes to show how the Big 10 gets, I think it was 2 hosts. Oregon State's not in a conference, they get a host. And then you've got Arizona, who's the Big 12 champions. They don't host. They're going to go in and take care of business. If I'm them, I'd be riled up. I'd be a little bit disrespected. You saw Arizona State knocked off UC Irvine, who was regarded as a mid-major powerhouse, and I fully expect Arizona State to knock off UCLA as well today. So I think the Big 12, they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. Since he smoked Wake yesterday, I'm excited to see what happens today.
Go ahead, Chris.
I guess I would ask Coach and Matthew. Y'all are more familiar inside the dugout, if you will. In other sports in NCAA, age really matters. Experience really matters. It's a clear differentiator when you're looking at college sports. Who the 5th-year senior quarterback is, just their ability to have the game slowed down for them to make better decisions. Is it that much of a differentiator at this level? I would imagine it's a differentiator, but I don't know to the extent to its differentiation.
Yeah, I mean, from a player's perspective, I would say it's
coaches everything. I mean, everything.
I think Clemson, they're old, bunch of transfers. I can tell you the difference from when I was 22 versus when I was 18, in my opinion, was substantial. Obviously, you can't replace games, you can't replace experience, but Coach has been around way longer and he sees it every single year. So I'd love to get his take.
Yeah, experience is a huge one, and like you said, Sax, it's not just baseball; it's all sports. And I think you're still seeing that last edition of the COVID kids that are just now maybe using their 6th year, and this is going to be their swan song. Especially if a kid's got experience and he's got tournament experience where he's playing in front of 10, 15,000 people at a SEC venue. If you're a freshman wet behind the ears coming out of high school and you have to roll into Baton Rouge and take on the LSU Tigers on a Friday night, it's like, holy cow, what did I get myself into tonight? Right. But the experience allows you to just soak all that in, and you definitely heard the term earlier this segment talking about playing with a chip on your shoulder. I think you tend to do that if you're more of an experienced team as well too.
I think to bounce off that as well, just to further elaborate on Chris and Coach's points, is you look at West Virginia. Kern's a 5th year, Cart's a 5th year, Kyle West 5th year, Rhino 5th year. All the guys that carried this program all year, they're all 5th years. Tons of experience. They've played a ton of games, and it shows. I mean, they're elite ball players with tons of experience, and it's a great combination to have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Really do.
So let's get into today's game. West Virginia playing Clemson. Clemson, obviously the home seed, so they're going to have an enormous fan base. The place is going to be packed, and it's a great stadium as it is. I guess West Virginia going with Jack Kartsanis didn't really look good in his last start, and it looked to me like teams were catching up with him. That's just the way it appeared. Like they were catching up with him, and he's going to have a short leash, obviously, in this game. Chase Meyer is going to be waiting in the wings, but I know, Matthew, you said that he'd start Hussey. I don't think he is. I think Sabins is. If I'm Sabins, look, I made a bold move in benching Hussey and benching Swain. I mean, I just benched the 2 of them. One guy, your brother, had a key sack bunt that tied that game. And then Armani played a great third base, Armani Guzman, and had the walk-off sack fly, which was actually a line drive to center, ball hit hard, 6 feet either way, it's a hit. I don't see him changing that. Why would you change that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of two things, especially I'd love to get coaches' take from a player's perspective. Doing that this late in the year with two guys that played all year, you're either one, going to really frustrate them and they're going to have a chip on their shoulder and they're going to want to prove them wrong, or two, they're going to check out. I'm not sure which one, but it's very two extremes. There's not much middle ground there. It's going to be frustration and I want to get back in there and do my thing, or it's going to be I'm 55 games deep. I've been here for 4 years. You bench me, like, checked out. So it's very slippery slope, and I'm curious to see what happens. I do think Monty should be back in there. He provides a dynamic to that offense with his speed and versatility. Played a great third base. I would be surprised if he wasn't back in at third.
Vince?
Well, this is news to me because I was out and about yesterday. I missed the West Virginia game, and I'm not here to speculate at all. But was it a discipline problem why this individual was put on the bench as opposed to a motivational issue?
I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. All I know is you're the leader in the history of the university in home runs. You're probably, no disrespect to your brother Ben, you're probably the best first baseman defensively in the NCAA, if not in the top three. And you got the power, and then you got Swain at third base, who was there all season. He gets benched. Hussey is got to go in the draft. I mean, he's done, fifth year senior. He can't come back. I would venture to say if they get knocked out and they don't start Swain and they get knocked out of this thing in Clemson, he's gone, because he started third base all season. He got in the slump, and at the end there, he's thrown on the bench. So we'll see what happens there. But like, if I'm Sabins, I mean, you already took the hit. You already made the tough whatever decision you made for whatever reason. You already took it. You won. I'd stay with it.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
John Asuna reminds me of the opening scenes of Smoking the Bandit, when Sheriff Buford T. Justice puts a little attitude adjustment on the young men who are cleaning up the car that has been swiped, right? This is just to start out a tournament like this. Sometimes you need an attention getter, and that might be the case here. Coach would know. And by the way, Coach, that's an outstanding lid. I give you all the props in the world. That's a good looking lid right there. That really stands out.
Well, good deal.
Simple all fan right. Here.
Yeah. So let's make some predictions. Let's go to these different brackets and guys and kind of just get your take. And we'll start with the Clemson bracket. Who wins that? And all I want is the winners of the bracket. Matthew?
Yeah, obviously a little bit of a tough situation for me today, right in between where I played and where my brother's playing. I think if West Virginia is set up in this manner, I'm going to go with them. I think Clemson relies a little bit more on mistakes. I think West Virginia firing on all cylinders is the more dynamic team. And obviously, John, you've watched all year. Will they be firing on all cylinders? That's $1 million question. But I think if both teams show up, I would give the advantage to West Virginia.
Okay. Vince?
It's going to come down. I know it's double elimination, but whoever wins the Clemson-West Virginia game this later today is probably going to win this region. I mean, it's just a simple fact, because if you don't, then you've got to come through the losers bracket and win 3 to get there. You know what? When you win in a walk-off in your first game in a regional, that carries a lot of juice going forward. And let's go with the Mountaineers to win that region.
Okay, Statler?
Really depends on which Mountaineer team we're going to see today. Are we going to see the Mountaineer team that was slugging earlier in the year, or are we going to see the Mountaineer team that couldn't buy a hit for a while? Their first 2 points came on an error. They're going to need more than 4 points to beat the Tigers today. I think they get it done today, but it's going to be a close one.
What do you think, Sax?
As much as it pains me to say, I think Clemson wins this bracket. I would never root for Clemson. I mean, I wouldn't root for them in a hurricane, but it's just the nature of growing up in the ACC.
Listen, I'm with Saxman. I think Clemson is by far the best team in this region. I think they win today. Griffin Kern pitched his heart out yesterday. Pitched a great game again. He's been out fire at the end of the season. Jack, to me, just has not pitched at that elite level consistently at the end. I think teams are starting to figure him out. And if you saw that what Arizona did to him, you're going to look for the same thing today. Jack Karstonis lives by getting ahead of hitters with a fastball. They jumped on him, man.
Smart.
They jumped on that fastball in Arlington.
Mm.
Every batter was, and the first inning or so, we got some quick innings because they hit it hard at people, but they kept doing that. And then when he couldn't start him off with that fastball, he started falling behind. Game was over. So I think you're going to see the same thing here from the Tigers. I think they're going to jump on him early. And the other thing is Myers, who is going to get in the first 5 picks, and I guess that would be the 26th draft. Chase Myers, absolutely elite pitcher. He has not looked good either in the last 2 or 3 outings. So they're going to be banking on him to come in. Clemson just too deep. And if you saw what Clemson did yesterday, guys, with Upstart, they didn't even start their star. They kind of started one of their Saturday starter, didn't start their Friday starter, saved him for today. And I think it's going to be a tough hope. I think Clemson wins this region. Very quickly, why don't we get to some of the other big ones? The Knoxville region. Can anybody beat Tennessee? Matthew?
Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm with Saxman on that one. I think Tennessee's the only team that can beat Tennessee. I know Cincy's hot, but it's not going to cut it. Tennessee's too deep. They're the more talented team.
All right. Anybody have anything other than that region than Tennessee winning it, Vince?
If Wake would have won yesterday and beat Cincinnati, I believe that's who their matchup was yesterday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wake would have had a shot, but now that Wake has to come through the losers bracket and to probably end up having to beat Tennessee 2 times, not taking that one.
Yeah, I don't see that either. What was it? One of these interesting regions is the Chapel Hill region. NC, always tough there at home. I don't see anybody beating them either. Brendan? Matthew?
No. I watched the Oklahoma-Nebraska game last night, and it was a good game, competitive game, but that's you're not taking down the Tar Heels and Chapel Hill.
There's no way. I agree with that. I agree. It's just good teams, but that isn't going to happen. The Ole Miss region in Oxford upside down. Ole Miss now going to go through the losers bracket. Vince mentioned not that big of a deal if you're number one. They play Western Kentucky today, which is better than meets the eye, guys.
Yeah, in that region, Georgia Tech is pissed. They should have hosted a region, and they're going to take it out on whoever they're playing this weekend in Oxford. Georgia Tech, Ramblin' Wreck, they're going to win that region.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody else on that?
Love the prediction. Love the reason. I mean, what you don't want to do is give good teams a reason to play better, right?
Yeah. No, coach is spot on.
It is very focusing.
Another thing with Georgia Tech, they have 2 semifinalists for the Golden Spikes Awards. Think about that. Not one. They've got 2 semifinalists. So
yeah. Those are the 1-2 hitters. Those are the 1-2 hitters. I was at the Clemson series in Atlanta. That team mashes, and it's Danny Hall's last year. They're motivated. They're livid about that ACC championship.
Hey, they're a CWS candidate, no question about it.
I feel for Murray State today. I think that one's going to be ugly.
Ugly. A couple others, and we got to get out. The tournament in Baton Rouge. Anybody beat Louisiana State?
No chance.
No chance, right? So they won that easy. One of the teams I just gotta give a shout out to is the Stetson Hatters. They're winning that game yesterday. I mean, Stetson in the Auburn regional. Do they have a shot here?
I saw Stetson play earlier this year. They had a tournament in the Caribbean. Actually, it was in Puerto Rico. And they made it, I think, all the way to the finals and played in Michigan. And something about that team, I'm like, I like them. And lo and behold, check back in time 3 months later, and there they are in a regional, and they have a shot in that region. They really do.
Look, if you get hot, you get hot, right? If your guys are seeing the ball clearly and they're geared up and they're just letting it fly. Baseball's a fun game. Chemistry matters, attitude matters, and that's what makes this tournament so daggone fun to watch. You see these kids play with such, as they said in Bull Durham, joy and verve, right?
Yeah, Stetson's gritty. They've got some depth. You look at the alumni from there. They've had some big time players. I think Auburn I get the conference, but you're a 38 win team, didn't win the regular season, didn't win the tournament, and you get 4 seed.
And they manhandled North Carolina State, and North Carolina State is not chopped liver.
No,
Yeah.
North Carolina State's good. They beat the brakes off of Clemson this year.
We saw Stetson, WVU opened against them in the 2024 season, Coach Mazy's last season, and beautiful stadium, beautiful park. Obviously, they got a tie into the Mets because there were like 7 major league players that came out of there, all with the Mets. So I thought that was interesting. So they have some kind of a tie in there. But we saw them, and they had a very young up-and-coming team back then, and I think they ended up splitting with us. So we'll see what happens there. Final one, we got to get to the we got to get to 2 more. I got to get to the Eugene region. We talked about Arizona. Let's get to the LA region. Arizona State, who, like, I don't even know why they're in this tournament. At the end, they couldn't win a game. They're going to buy a win. Somehow they sneak into the tournament. They win, and now they're playing UCLA today. Comments on that?
Interesting region. Obviously, UCLA no longer part of the Pac-12. It's kind of weird to think of them as a Big Ten school, but I followed a little bit of the Big West. I'm in Big West territory, Cal State Bakersfield and Cal State Northridge in close proximity where I live, and been following UC Irvine all year. And that's a good team. That's a really good team. And for Arizona State to essentially knock them off, almost like a home game for Irvine, quite impressive. I know about a month ago, Arizona State was vying for a pretty high seed. And like you mentioned, John, they kind of faltered a little bit down. And had no momentum going into the tournament, and boom, right off the bat. I guess momentum is today's starting pitcher. I guess that's what it is. It's
baseball. Listen, guys, final thing. The rise of college baseball, just the rise of it. I mean, Saxman, you and I are older. So is Coach Vince. Yeah. You go back in time. You go back to the 80s. Did you even ever watch college baseball World Series? I didn't. I mean, I didn't know it was on.
Not even when I played college baseball did I watch college baseball.
Played college baseball. But I mean, it's just it's got the popularity of it has exploded. And this, I think one of you gentlemen mentioned it's not like the NCAA basketball where everybody's bracket gets blown up. It's not at that level. But Vince, what do you make of this resurgence or this surging of college baseball?
Well, you go back in the 80s and the 70s and even way back in the 60s, it was West Coast dominated. It was either Arizona State or USC was winning the College World Series, and everybody else was playing for second place. Since then, we've seen obviously an influx of the Southeastern schools where they have really sunk money into their facilities. It's, they're all college towns with the exception of Vanderbilt that plays in a huge metropolitan area. I might be missing a school or two, but they're college towns, and there's no minor league baseball. There's no pro baseball, so that's as close as it is. And to be quite honest, college baseball now is professional baseball with the NIL deals. But you're seeing, just check some of these rosters on the Southeast Conference. There's a ton of West Coast kids that are leaving California, leaving Arizona, leaving the West Coast and going to LSU, Georgia. I mean, it's crazy. So it's become a national recruiting base for these big time programs in the Southeast, and even a little bit of the Big 12 and the ACC as well too. But college baseball it's humming right now.
Well, the fan experience at the game, John, is second to none among those SEC schools, and that just trickles down to the rest of the fan experience as they go out and they're not in the college towns anymore. As these kids graduate, they start watching it on ESPN. They start watching, paying attention to it, following it because of great news outlets like you're covering here. And I swear one of these days I'm definitely going to sign up potentially for that newsletter you got going on. But yeah, it's the overall fan experience. I mean, who in college baseball, who doesn't know about Texas A&M in Ball 5, right? That's just outstanding fan experience that sports fans like. It's the in-game experience. The same thing, the reason why NHL hockey is growing, because the fan experience carries over. And I know I said this at the outset, but they really do need to change the camera angle on the strike zone in college baseball. It is nauseating to watch.
You know what? I haven't thought of that, but I think you're right. Now that I'm looking back at watching some of these games, do you think the fact that the Major League Baseball cut their minor league teams in half, does that have anything to do with it, guys?
No. It's a
Okay.
fan experience. It's a fan experience. 100%.
All right. Good deal. Okay, guys. This segment has been brought to you by Rosie's Gaming. Go to rosiesgamingemporium.com. Whether you're in anywhere in Virginia, Rosie's Gaming has got you covered. Don't forget Colonial Downs opening in July. We're going to be there in our suite. Don't want to miss that. And that's going to be racing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, starting in July 14th. It's coming up in 6 weeks. We ship out. We're going to be there. But anywhere in Virginia, you're going to have a great time. Go to rosiesgaming.com. That's rosiesgaming.com, and you are good to go there. Win money, have fun, great gaming experience. Now, remember, Rosie's got the biggest jackpots and the highest payouts. Why? Because they have the lowest takeout of any slot machines in the country. That's what the Virginia General Assembly did. They said, if you're going to come here, we're going to give the majority of the money back to the players. So biggest payouts, biggest jackpots, go to rosiesgaming.com. That's rosiesgaming.com. You get to go. And don't forget, again, Colonial Downs Racetrack, July 15th, opening day. We're going to be there. Hope to see you with us. Okay, guys, we got a lot other things to talk about here. I want to get to just your overall pick to win the NCAA tournament. Very quickly, start with Matthew.
I'm going to go Tennessee.
Vince.
Boy, I'm just still thinking regionals. Vanderbilt.
Statler.
I don't think you could bet against Tennessee. I'm going with Tennessee as well.
Saxman.
God, I hate to say it, Tennessee.
Somebody's got to beat him, right? I guess Vandy might be the only team to beat him.
No, Tennessee. If Tennessee loses, because Tennessee will beat itself. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just that good. I think right now.
Hey, I do. You know what? Let me change my Texas.
Texas.
Horns.
All right.
Good ball club.
All right. We'll see. So we got 3 Tennessees and a Texas. No, somebody picked Vandy. Who was that? Oh, Vince. And then you switched to Texas. Okay. By the way, I want to thank everybody for joining us today on Godzilla Wins. I'm John Fredericks, your host, live in Bend, Oregon, which is, I have to go over the mountain here. Is about 3.5 hours south of Portland, Oregon. So Vince and I on West Coast time. Also, Coach Vince with us. Vince, again, give us the name of your team and just a little bit about them.
Yeah, Taft College, community college in Central California, about 30 miles southwest of Bakersfield. A very red part of the state of California where we live. Been coaching as a head coach at Taft College since 2004. Was a head coach at College of the Siskiyous. Prior to that, a JUCO up in NorCal, probably about an hour south of the Oregon border. Been coaching baseball even when I was playing baseball and coaching young kids as I was playing high school and college ball. But, the JUCO, the little plug for the JUCO route. And I think we're going to see junior college baseball step up their game as well, too, with reduced roster sizes at the NCAA Division I level, dropping from 40 to 34. So you're going to see JUCO baseball, the quality of it really escalating. Right now, they've actually got the JUCO World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado going on right now, and good baseball. I've been watching a little bit of that. Last weekend, we hosted the California State Championship. Mount San Antonio College outside of Pomona won the California State title. If you win the California State title in JUCO, you're pretty good. Baseball. You're pretty good, but it's a good brand of baseball.
Coach, if I can real quick, John, what have you seen as the difference in the players from when you started and even when you played to today? What do you see in the difference?
I'm sure every generation says the same thing. Back when I played, one of those type of things. But there is a difference. I've been doing this. It's not my first rodeo, so I've been doing it for quite a while. And I think there are some contributing factors. I think, we just look at technology has played a big part of it, for better or for worse, if you get my drift on that one. I think COVID played a huge role in really distancing some of our younger kids away from other kids in that social environment where in some states you couldn't play baseball. Here in California, you couldn't play baseball. Actually, travel teams would organize teams in California and go to Utah or go to Arizona and play, because those states at that time allowed you to socially gather. So just a whole combination of things where I think probably one of the biggest, I'm kind of roundabout way of answering this, Axe, but base running is atrocious in 2025. Wow. What the Division I level, pro baseball, I mean, base running is a lost art. It really is. And guys can get up there and max effort, throw mid 90s to upper 90s. And you're seeing the pro game right now where, well, guys, it's not, every team has a guy that throws triple digits, but you don't see good base running. It's a lost art. So I guess that's kind of how things are different.
Because I've spoken with a number of players here in the Richmond area. And when I travel and I run into Dominicans a lot, for some strange reason, and I'll start talking about Dominican Republic baseball, and they play with they play differently. And the Caribbean leagues, the Caribbean players that just have a different attitude. And I ask them to talk about that. And it's the difference between fundamentals, and because they all rave about how well trained American players are, the quality of the equipment, the quality of the coaching, the quality of the programs themselves, and the instruction that they get. But the attitude of the Caribbean players just seems to be they're having more fun. And that if they come into America, that's sort of starting to meld a little bit. The Caribbean at least I hope so. Players that just have a different attitude.
No, on my roster, I recruit a lot of kids from Puerto Rico on my roster. So I have a little bit of that so-called Caribbean experience in the program. And they do play with more of a joy, a smile on their face. Maybe fundamentally they're not where your American players are, but boy, once you teach them some mechanics and some fundamentals along with that love for the game, you have some special kids at that point in time.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, listen, there's a lot to be said for the guy throwing 98, but I think it was the coach of Vanderbilt. What's his name? Vince has been there forever.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot.
I can't think of his name. Statler, look him up. Tim Corbin. I saw him on ESPN the other day, and the guy never ceases to impress me with just his attitude. Obviously, he's had so many winning seasons, but his I think it was his Saturday starter, right-hander, not that big, maybe 5'11" or something, throws 87. And they were asking about it because everybody else is throwing like 96, 98, 100. He's throwing 87. His fastball is 87 miles an hour. And he said something to me that really struck me. He said, when I first got him here, even in the scrimmages, he spots his ball. He's got a great breaking ball. He gets a lot of outs. He doesn't strike a lot of people out, but the object of the game is to get people out. But he said something to me. He said, he's not a pitcher. He's a baseball player. And he said, a lot of kids come here, they're pitchers. And he's a baseball player. And he said, that's rare and it's different. What do you think he meant by that, Chris?
Oh, it's a guy who loves to play the game, and he's not caught up in trying to impress you with his fastball. He's not trying to overpower you. And I love that if as a former catcher, I just love being in a synchronous relationship with my pitchers. And knowing that I could get them to put a pitch wherever I wanted it to, regardless if it's a breaking ball or a fastball, 2-seam, 4-seam, whatever it was. If I could get him to put it exactly where I wanted it, the batter didn't stand a chance, right? He might not strike out, but he's going to ground out or pop up or whatever. Right. And you get in that kind of relationship, a guy who just loves the game and loves it's like a Greg Maddux, right? He didn't throw hard. He just threw it exactly where he wanted it to go. And he out-thought you. And that's one of the great things about this game that I love so much. And I'm going to go back to that thing about not seeing it on TV because of the angle of the cameras. You can't see where the ball is relative to the batter, his hands, his hips, his feet, the whole bit. And that's just the beauty of this game for me. Is that guy who doesn't have to beat you with a fastball, blowing it past you. I mean, what fun is that? Like Crash Davis said it best in Bull Durham: "Stop throwing strikeouts. Throw some ground balls. The strikeouts are fascist, right?"
Good point. You get the movie thing going here, Saxman, no doubt about it. All right, guys.
I'm on vacation, man.
I know we're going to get out of the NCAA tournament now, and we'll see what happens this afternoon. Of course, Saturday is always my you start seeing people get eliminated 2 times in the losers bracket. They're out. Teams that don't win have to win. So we'll see how things play out today. I want to get to the NBA Finals in the couple minutes that we have. The Thunder back in, absolutely pasting. I mean, that they pasted Minnesota. I mean, that game was a 30-point blowout. But so they're going to get to the finals. But did anybody really ever expect we'd be talking about a 6-game in the Eastern Finals between Indiana and the New York Knicks? Did anybody see this coming? No Celtics, no Cavaliers. Today's game in Indianapolis, New York winning the game. They had to win, making it 3-2. Now they go back to Indy, but I think they're a 3.5-point favorite today after getting really blown out at the Garden. What do you see there, Matthew?
I think Indy closes the series. I think, to your point, I don't think anybody really expected no Boston, no Cleveland. But going back to what we just talked about, I think Indy's got a bunch of basketball players. They don't really have that poster child. They don't have that branded name. But those dudes pick you up 94 feet down court. They play gritty basketball. They're physical, and they understand their roles. I mean, I personally like them. I think they're fun to watch, and I think they close it out today. I'd give them a good chance against OKC.
With that.
What do you think, Statler?
Yeah, I agree. I think Indiana closes out today. I can't say that I'm shocked that this series has gone this far because, I mean, New York Knicks, I mean, this is the team that knocked off the Boston Celtics. This team is much better than a lot of people gave them credit for, but I don't think they're going to be good enough to pull out 2 more wins against the Pacers. So I'm taking the Pacers to close it out tonight, and it's going to be a great finals between Indiana and OKC.
What do you think?
John, can I throw in my 2 cents? No way the NBA wants the Indiana Pacers in the finals. They are praying that the New York Knicks make it to the NBA finals, because if they do, then the ratings go up. An Indiana OKC series, no one was going to watch except for those 2.
Well, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs referees will show up and bail out the Knicks.
They very well could. They very well could.
I don't see New York going to Indianapolis and winning this game. I really don't. On the road in Indy, I'm going to lay the 3.5. I'm going to take the Pacers. If they lose, they lose, but I just don't see it.
Yeah. Is Taylor Swift following this at all? Is she showing up to the game tonight? What's going on?
I don't know what she's doing, but
let's get to the real
that fan base there, that Indy fan base is going to go absolutely crazy. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, guys, I like Indy. Anybody taking the 3.5 with the Knicks? No. We're all picking Indy, right? So we're good there. Okay. Let's get to I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but NBA is NBA. Can anybody beat Oklahoma? Can either of these teams beat Oklahoma?
Yeah, Indy can. New York can. The problem with the Thunder is they're immensely talented, but they're very young. And when they were just smacking the Timberwolves around, they dropped hard game 5, right? They was it game 5, game 4, game 4. They just flatlined. And they didn't show up. And you saw that in other series where they just don't show up because they think they got this thing locked. And you can't do that. So they could get down, but they're just really, really, really talented. They could be on a dynasty run here.
I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think, look, for all of the ratings that that's going to go on negatively with the Indianapolis Oklahoma City series. I think it's going to be interesting, and I think the NBA really needed this. Might hurt ratings in the short term, but I think they needed two smaller market teams that nobody expected to be in this thing. So I think it's going to be the NBA for me, guys, is just tough to watch. I mean, you basically turn the game on in the final 2.5 minutes. I mean, teams get big leads. They blow them all the time. You're up by 20, 25. It doesn't matter. I don't bet NBA for that reason. I mean, you're laying 3.5. They're up by 3. Somebody hits a 3 in the final shot, or they get fouled. I'm just not an NBA better. However, tonight I am going to bet Indianapolis because I don't think this game is going to be close. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, hockey. We got to close this out. Matthew, your team, my team out. I bet Winnipeg once again. They can't make it into the finals. Unbelievable. They suck. Forget them. I'm done with them. But you got your Oilers now. I mean, are they going to come back and win this thing or what?
Yeah, no Zach Hyman, definitely tough, but the guy, Evander Kane's the difference maker. I mean, he brings that edge, that physicality.
Yeah,
he's kind of just, I mean, he plays with swag. He's a dude you don't want to mess with. And you're going to need that against Tkachuk in Florida. I mean, they're a bunch of hard-nosed, gritty dudes. You got Marchand there, who's just an absolute weasel. So it's going to be interesting. If Skinner can just not be pathetic, I think the Oilers get this done, which could be a tall ask. But if he can just be below average, I think Edmonton's got it.
Listen, guys, it's very tough to bet against the Florida Panthers. I mean, you just watch them play. They just find ways to win. They don't really have a hole. They don't really have a deficit on that team. They got great depth. They're gritty. They're tough as nails. And I just, I like Edmonton, but I don't know how you beat this team. I just don't, Saxman. How do you beat them?
The Florida Panthers have a personality. They have a style. They have a rhythm. When they score, they can score in buckets, which doesn't really happen. There's sort of a combination of the Penguins when they could score in buckets, but with more physicality and without the dominant player, which I love in a sport like hockey because of the rotation of the lineups. But they're very, very tough. But for the good of hockey, I kind of like to see a Canadian team win. We talked about the NBA and the ratings that's going to happen. Well, the NBA's problem is flyover country, America. Their problem is not on the coast; it's in the flyover country. So it's really be good for the NBA. This one though is a rematch. Great hockey. The skills of Draisaitl and McDavid up in Edmonton. But yeah, Florida is going to be a tough bet against. I just wouldn't do it. And they're so damn good. I don't even like Florida, and I love watching them play.
Statler, what do you think?
This is going to be a great series. I mean, we got a repeat of last year's final, and I believe last year's final went 7 games, if memory serves me correctly.
Yep.
But this is going to be an exciting series. You have the skill on Edmonton's side, and you have the gritty play of the Florida Panthers, which is what you could really contribute to their Cup victory last year and how they've gotten this far so far this year. And so sometimes the gritty play is better than the speed. If they're able to beat down the Oilers enough, with Tkachuk and you got the pest Marchand, that might be enough to give them the edge over Edmonton. Plus, I think Bobrovsky is the better goalie out of the two. So I'm going to give the edge to Florida, but we could see another 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got to get to top of the hour break. You're on Godzilla Wins. Matthew Loveston, Coach Vince. I'll never be able to say his last name. Brendan Statler with us, and Chris Saxman. Godzilla Wins. We're going to be right back. When we get back, we got baseball. We got a lot to talk about today. We got the NIL, NCAA. What's going to happen? The SEC says they want to get out of the NCAA. We're going to talk about that. And also, if you're a Carolina fan in Raleigh, what the hell is going on with that team? They can't win a game. They can't win a game after the second round. All that when we get back. You're on Godzilla Wins. But your calls 888-480-JOHN.
Did you want me to stick around, John, or do you want you to bail?
Is it Mayako?
The best
There you
part
go.
about waking up in the morning is a great cup of coffee, and I get this every day with my 1775 coffee. It's rich, it's bold, best tasting coffee I've ever had. Single origin, farmed in Bolivia, 7,000 feet. It's always fresh, roasted daily. This is the best coffee you're ever going to get. Go to 1775coffee.com, 1775coffee.com. Promo code Godzilla, 10% off. It's going to make your day every day. Okay, you're back on Godzilla Wins. Great to have you with us. We are live. I am in Bend, Oregon. Coach Vince with us. He's in Bakersfield, California. Matthew Lumsden is with us. Matthew, a former ball player at Clemson, is now a sports analyst on Godzilla Wins. Brendan Statler with us, one of the writers on West Virginia. WV Sports Nation. Go to wvsportsnation.com, wvsportsnation.com. And we're with Chris Saxman, noted political analyst and one of the hosts of the John Frederick Show. In fact, Chris, basically, I'm going to ask you to be a guest host of my show the week of, I think, June 29th or June 30th, that week before the July 4th holiday. If you're around, we're going to ask you to host our show. I'm going to be in Israel for that week, so checking things out there for the July 4th holiday. So all of them right here. I'll be back for those of you that are fans of my show. I'll be back Monday after my week's vacation out here in Vancouver, Washington. I'll be back on Monday, 6 a.m. bright and surly, but Vince, 3 a.m. out here. So what time I have to get up? Like 1? I mean, I haven't really figured this out yet. So
good luck with that.
I think I'm going to have to do all my work at night and then get up like 5 minutes before I go on the air or something. Forget the jacket and tie. You can forget that. I'm just going to have to pop out of bed and go on.
Make sure you have 1775 coffee going.
I'm going to have that 1775. I actually have it with me. And this segment is brought to you by another thing I have with me, which is My Pillow. I never travel without My Pillow. From My Pillow, go to mypillow.com. Mike Lindell right now has got the greatest sale going on in the history of My Pillow. All Giza sheets, any size, any color, anytime, while they last. $49.95 with promo code Godzilla. $49.95 with promo code Godzilla. Anybody listening to me right now, you want to go to mypillow.com. They got all the great savings there. Even with me, I bring my Pillow in my suitcase. I never travel without it, because that's how I sleep now. So I got that. You got the Giza sheets. If you don't have the My Pillow, my slippers, you're depriving yourself of one of the greatest things a man can have in life, which is putting those comfy slippers on, man or woman. Just go to mypillow.com/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla. You're going to get all these savings right there. Promo code Godzilla. Now, I got to make a cup of coffee over here right by me. So we're going to get back to hockey, but I got to ask you guys, if you live in North Carolina and you live in Raleigh and you're a Hurricanes fan and you get to the championship round and every season you get blown out. I mean, 5-0, 6-0, 5-2, and they blow leads. And then all of a sudden, like the final game, they're up, 3-0? Final score 5-3. And this happened every single game. How do they get the best record in hockey and then just they get to the championships and implode. Lumsden, you're in the Carolinas. What's the deal with this team?
I mean, I think you hit it spot on. They're not built for it. It's the opposite of what Saxman said. He loves the Panthers. The Panthers just kind of they're never really in the President's Cup chase. They were there this year until Four Nations, but they're just built for postseason. They're gritty. They're physical. Carolina just not quite built for it. I mean, honestly, not to sound terrible, but I don't think they're a championship caliber team. They don't have the culture. They don't have the mantra.
What do you think, Chris?
Who cares? This is the tough poo-poo category of life, right? You know, if you can't make the adjustment and you keep repeating your idiocy, and you're in Raleigh, okay, you're lucky to have a professional team to begin with. You're lucky to have a competitive professional team to begin with. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not a large market to begin with. That team should be in Charlotte. I mean, if you're thinking about the Carolinas, but they're not. They got lucky. They got a great team there. Count your blessings. If you want to make the correction within the organization, make the correction in the organization. But have they even tried to make the correction? I don't see it. I mean, okay, you're great in the regular season, but you got to play and let's give homage to what the Stanley Cup actually is. It's the hardest trophy in professional sports. Okay, and you have to grind it out. And the problem is you get caught playing that many more games season after season after season. The Washington Capitals don't have that problem because they get knocked out in the first and second rounds, right? It really caught up to the Penguins for a number of years because they were playing, over a course of 4 seasons, they played an extra season. And that's just tough. It's a long physical, tough season. And it's a long physical game, and the Florida Panthers are built for it, to Matthew's point.
Well, I think it's interesting when you look at these hockey teams, you have to try to figure out how you're going to get through the Stanley Cup because, making the playoffs is fine, but then you have to figure. I mean, that's why I bet Winnipeg to win it all because I thought they set this team up the right way, but then they're the second team. They just can't get out of the second round ever. And even though on paper they have the best goaltender in the NHL, he just doesn't seem to perform in the big games. It's sad. I don't really understand it. I mean, I'm not a goalie. I never played hockey. I don't understand how you go through the whole season. You're the top guy. You get to the playoffs. You go on the road, and you can't stop a puck. How does that happen?
A lot of it's just luck. But look, hockey and baseball are very similar in the respect of how important chemistry is on a team, given the amount of plays that take place. You have to be locked in all the time with all the players, and it really transcends the organization. And go listen to the Florida coach, the Panthers coach, talk about his team. It's extraordinary how much the team likes each other, right? And they don't view each other as superstars. Now, there's no Ovechkin there that sort of overlords the organization. And that's really important in baseball. It's really important in hockey, just because of the dynamic nature of the sport itself.
It's interesting. The coach of the Panthers, the Florida Panthers, I saw him on ESPN. He was being interviewed. It's maybe a month ago, 2 months ago or something. And he said it was interesting. He said, when I got the job, the first thing I did is I got on the phone and I started calling up the players. And he said, every player I called, all they did was talk about other players and how good other players were. They never mentioned themselves. Mm-hmm. They never said, I did this, I did that. It was like, hey, this guy, you ought to see a shot. It's the best shot I've ever seen. Hey, the speed on this guy. Hey, we got this other guy coming up. He's fantastic. He said every guy called up, all they did was talk about the other players. And he said he got off the phone after speaking to 10 of them, and he didn't know anything about the individual players that he had actually talked to. So I think that kind of set the tone for how this team is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's really heartwarming to see in professional sports that level of knowledge of your fellow teammates, but also just the respect for one another, that they see themselves in that light and they speak so well of themselves. I had a very dear friend of mine who passed away, and I'm not going to go down that road, but we would sit up at night and we went to college together. We were very close friends. He passed away at a young age. But he would always talk about our friends in the superlative. He never badmouthed anyone. He always talked about how funny they were, how smart they were, what a good person they were. But he always saw the best in that person, their true superlative self. And, when you have that in your team and everyone talking about that, and they know it, and when they lace up the skates every single day and get on the ice, for the length of a season, to know that the person they're skating with has their back and thinks well of them, and it's true and it's real. That authenticity, that authentic chemistry that flows through. It's so hard to build in an organization, but when you have it, it's unbelievable.
It's golden. It's golden. Yeah, when you have that, and I kind of feel the same way about baseball and hockey. Although I never played hockey, I do follow it. And the reason I do so good betting hockey is because I don't really have a team other than the Penguins, which has been adopted late. So I don't have any biases.
Right.
So let's get to our hockey picks. Who's going to win it? Who's going to win the whole thing? Let's start with Saxman.
My heart's with Edmonton, but my money's going to be on Florida.
Brendan Stadler.
I'm taking Florida in 6.
Vince.
I'm going Oilers, and the reason being is, correct me if I'm wrong, they went down 3-0 last year, took it to a game 7, lost a heartbreaker in game 7. I think this is a team on a mission. And even though they didn't have the most points of teams in the Western Conference this year, they are built for the postseason, and they are clicking on all cylinders right now. And they got, remember, Kane. That guy's a beast. He's amped it up a little bit from the defensive perspective. Physical player, but he's skilled too. He scores goals, and it's the Oilers' sign this year.
Well, Matthew, we know who you're going to pick, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, but they've got more depth. They play better defense this year. I think there's no debate. They've got the best 2 players on the ice at all times. That's not up for discussion. I think Florida's definitely the more physical team, but then you want to look back. Gretzky's first cup he lost, got a rematch with the same team, second year, won. You guys are all big Penguins guys. Crosby lost to the Red Wings first time. Next year, beat them. McDavid's the same echelon. I think it happens again. I'm going Oilers, and I'll go in 6.
I just think it's tough to win 2 Stanley Cups in a row, especially beating the same team twice. So I'm going to go with the Oilers here. As much as I love Florida, I love their style of play, I love everything about them. It's just things even out. And I think to Coach Vincent's point earlier, I think this team is on a mission. The way they came back, if you look at the last year's finals, down 3-0, they came storming back and then got beaten that 7th game in a heartbreaker. I mean, they came within, inches of being the only team in Stanley Cup ever to come back from the 3-0 deficit. So that took some heart, and I think they are on a mission. So I like Edmonton. I don't know if it's 6 or 7. I'm going to bet them to win.
Who has home ice? Anybody know who has home ice? Edmonton does? Okay.
Edmonton, yeah. Edmonton's got home ice. They got 4 games now. But I don't even think that matters. Florida wins on the road. Edmonton wins on the road. I mean, I don't look at the home ice here as a big deal. But I'm going to go with Edmonton. I'm going to go with Matthew here.
John, I think we can all agree on one thing. You don't want to miss a second of this series.
No, you don't.
This is going to be
it's going to be exciting.
And
how long of a flight is that? Edmonton to Miami. How long of a flight is that? About 14, 15 hours?
It's got to be far.
And here's your
Edmonton's out by where we are.
Yeah.
I was in Vegas several weeks ago, and I saw game 2 of the series, the Western semifinals, Oilers and Golden Knights. Edmond travels well. I could not believe how many Edmonton Oiler fans were in Las Vegas for that game. And it's like, whether they travel to Florida, who knows? But that's an impressive fan base, so to speak.
Well, listen, they told us in this West Coast Baseball League that when you go to Edmonton, which is one of the teams in the league, and they have to. So what they do, guys, is this kind of an interesting sidebar story. Is they have to fly them there. So like our team is not playing them this season on the road, but if you play them in Edmonton in the West Coast League, the Edmonton baseball team pays for the airline tickets. So they all have to fly to Edmonton from wherever they are. Oh, they fly there, get a passport or whatever, and they tell me they average 10,000 a game. This is for a West Coast Summer Baseball League.
Hey, a
They
sidebar.
average 10,000.
John,
Which
and
means
they
some
have
games they get 15,000. It's incredible. It's a summer league.
They have another collegiate summer league team in Edmonton. They used to be called the Edmonton Prospects. They're now called the Energy City Cactus Rats. But they are in the Western Canadian Baseball League. That was a league I talked to you and Joe about. And this is how much they love baseball, collegiate baseball in Edmonton. They are building a multi-million-dollar stadium for this other collegiate summer league team that they fully expect will seat anywhere between 10 to 15,000 people as well. So you've got in the city of Edmonton 2 collegiate summer league baseball programs that are have some backing, so to speak.
Getting 10,000.
John, I think the key ingredient for Edmonton, why it's so successful, is because these games are apparently outside, and if you're that far north and you can finally go outside, you'll go do anything.
Probably right. They are outside. It is kind of funny, but this has been for us. It's only been the first weekend here, but it's been a great experience so far. If it was a great decision we made to come out here. Great decision for Joe, and he was so good to see him pitch so well. It's been a while, and he's gone through a tough time this season as a sophomore, not getting any time. It was tough. It was tough on him, but you gotta grind it out, get your next opportunity, and then see what happens. So this is going to be obviously our first time in the portal. I know Matthew's brother went through that, so we don't have any experience with it. So that opens up on Monday. So that's going to be interesting. I'll be able to tell you guys who he's talking to, who's interested, but it's going to be certainly a first-time experience for us. Let's get to the NCAA, NIL money, paying college players. The court ruling supposed to come down before July 1. You've got the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, didn't really say it, but made kind of a veiled, I don't know, it was a threat, inference, I don't know what you want to call it, but he kind of threw out the concept that, maybe we just don't participate in the NCAA. Maybe the Southeastern Conference just basically becomes its own entity, and we just get out of the NCAA and we start our own organization. Now, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but this is the commissioner of the SEC. You don't even throw that out there without having talked about it, right? You're not that dumb. Guy's got an MBA, obviously. Vince, what is the future here? The NCAA, pretty soon they're going to be paying college players. The kind of student athletes gone. They become employees. What happens if you have an employee under contract and you don't make your grades? Do you get thrown off the team? Like, how's this all work, Vince?
Well, obviously the genie's out of the bottle now, and there's no putting him back in. But we all know the NC2A has a lot of faults. There's no doubt about it, and they have for years and decades. And I'm not a fan of the SEC, but I think they have a leg to stand on here. And if they bail from the NC2A, the Big Ten will soon follow. Probably the Big 12. I know there's been rumors about what the ACC is going to do, whether the SEC is going to take some of them in the future. I don't know. And, but it's ultimately, I think we're going to see, I think what they set the date 2028, 2029, I think was where they were looking at possibly if they were going to leave the NC2A to do it then. What's going to happen to our mid-major schools? The Creightons of the world, the St. Mary's of the world,
the Davidson.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to be, your group of anywhere between maybe 30 to 40 universities that have all the money, have all the leverage, and obviously all have football. And, they're the tail is wagging the dog right now. No question about it. And, it's like I said, genie's out of the bottle. We're not going back. I mean, players are going to get paid, no question about it. But But I do think they need to start initiating some rules when it comes to this NIL and this portal and all this. Is number one, if a kid gets NIL money, there should be a contract, whether it's a 2-year contract, a 3-year contract, whatever it is. And if a kid chooses to break that contract, then they have to sit out a year if they're going to enter the portal at that point in time. And maybe the university recoups some money from them. I don't know. But we've all seen it, rosters where kids at 4 universities in a 4-year span. That has to change. Maybe allow a kid one opportunity to transfer in the portal and be instantly eligible. If they choose to do it again, force them with a year where they have to sit it out. But there needs to be some change, no question about it. More than fine tuning at this point in time. But it'll definitely be interesting, so to speak. It definitely will.
I mean, what's happening now is kids are getting, like we know from baseball, right? So kids are getting NIL contracts now, and the season isn't even over. So this is for next season. But the contracts are non-binding for the player. They're only binding for the university. So it's a one-way street. So it's an unfair contract. So basically the player can sign it and say, let's take somebody's getting, let's take a number, $50,000, right? They can sign it, but then they go in the portal and they talk to somebody and they offer them 75. They can just say, well, I'm going to null and void that contract and go. So that doesn't seem like a fair thing. I mean, you sign a contract for a reason. Shouldn't be a one-way street. That's number one. Number two, coach and everybody else on the panel, there's no rules around NIL. There's no, like, this is what you have. When it was first started, it was like, this is what you have to do to get the money. And then there's got to be, is that market rate? Now it's, I'll give you $1 million to pitch softball for Texas Tech so we can have a good team and you don't have to do anything. Here's like $1 million. And that's what Texas Tech did. I mean, they paid, and good for Najee, like, good for her. She got $1 million to pitch for Texas Tech one season, but there's nothing tied to that. And so if Texas Tech alumni and donors feel like putting that money in, okay, fine. It's their money. They're giving it to her to get them to the CWS and softball where they are now, but it's $1 million to pitch softball. It's crazy. And so, but there is anything tied to that. So what they're saying is the NIL money there's got to be some parameters around it. Mm-hmm. But then also you got, $22 million per team total to pay college players. So they're actually going to get a paycheck. So then the question becomes, if I'm paid to play for Auburn and I'm paid football and I'm paid $2 million, offensive tackle, whatever. But now I'm just not maintaining my grades. What happens, Saxman?
You're not there for academics at that level. You're there to perform on the athletic field, period. And the colleges have a responsibility to not only pay the players for what they're worth in the market, they also have a responsibility to regulate or help manage the students grow and to be financially responsible. And that is far more important to me than this conversation when you're talking about it. Because when you're 18 years of age and you get that kind of money, really bad things can happen to a young man or a young lady. But backing up a second here, covered this last week on Godzilla Wins. The NCAA is going to have to bifurcate the revenue sports and the Olympic sports. There is no reason in the world why UVA and Virginia Tech have a conference volleyball game in California. That is moronic. They're going to have to separate out college baseball or college basketball and college football and create a super league, if you will, and have relegation and promotion. Get rid of those conferences. You're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off here and go back to regional conferences for the Olympic sports and just call it for what it is. College basketball and college football are professional, and they are the funding elements to those colleges and universities, period. And then you can really do great things at all levels, because we got a JUCO coach here in California. There's great baseball there. But those guys might graduate up, and they probably will into other levels of baseball, and they should. That'd be great. But there has to be an honest conversation here. And what the SEC commissioner did was just call Bravo Sierra early and say, guys, we've got a problem and we don't need you. We can be with you or we can leave, and they can leave. SEC football is the dominant brand in American college sports, period. End of discussion.
Matthew, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think Chris is spot on. I mean, the NCAA needs the SEC. The SEC does not even remotely close need the NCAA. You look at football, you look at basketball this year, you look at baseball. They dominate everything. The atmospheres are there, the crowds are there, the revenue's there. They don't need it. They're gone. I think one of the most intriguing proposals I've seen is almost separate each sport and treat it like a Premier League soccer system. Take X amount of teams, however you want to do it, say 40, and the bottom 2 or 3 teams that aren't good, demote them down to B level. Whoever wins B level or top 3 teams, bump them up to A level. I think it'd be intriguing. I mean,
right.
Like at the end of the day, these mid-major teams, some of them, they're not competing. Like there's no point in sending BC all the way across the country to Stanford in the ACC when realistically BC's not winning the ACC. It's not happening. You're wasting time. You're wasting money. I think they need to level out the playing field and they need to figure out how to address this very quickly.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, because it's going to get a runaway because these TV contracts are not getting any better for the mid majors, and the disparity in the competitiveness is going to grow exponentially. And a relegation promotion system works extremely well in the European leagues for this reason. It creates competition in the lower levels, and it's competitive and it's exciting and fun for the fans. I mean, if you're a UVA football fan, why are you showing up? I mean, you're lucky to crack the top 40, let alone the top 20, let alone get a bowl game. So the prospects of going back to regional conferences where BC is playing UConn and Rutgers and those teams up in the Northeast, and the Southeast is the Atlantic Coast. The Atlantic Coast should not have California teams. It's just, it's just stupid that to do it this way. And reality has to be called. You got to get over it and frankly, John, I know you don't like talking politics. You don't want Congress coming in here and screwing it up.
They're going to do it.
So
they're going to do it. There's no question. Congress is going to get involved in this. Trump is going to get involved in it. Everybody's got to get involved in this because it's on everybody's mind. I mean, half the country follows college athletics, 50% of them. So intensely. And I think the poll I read 55% intensely and 80% to some degree. So everybody is following this. Whatever ruling comes out by this judge in San Francisco, I think that's where she's from. Whatever comes out in June, it's going to get appealed immediately. I mean, it's going to get appealed. And like when Vince said, well, you should have a portal where, you can only go one time, that'll be appealed. It doesn't matter what they try to do. What you can't, the genie's, I think was Coach Vince has said, the genie's out of the bottle now. And you've got the free movement of players with money and agents involved and big dollars involved and big donors involved. And I don't know how they stop this runaway train now.
John, can I add to this? We kind of evolves around conference realignment too. Hey, the Pac-12 had a great brand about 5 or 6 years ago. It really did. I mean, they had they call it late night Saturday football or whatever, but they had an opportunity to get Oklahoma and Texas into the Pac-12 less than 10 years ago. And the elites in the Pac-12, your Stanfords, your Cals, their college presidents say, oh, those aren't academic institutions. We don't want any part of that. How different would the landscape of college athletics look right now if the Pac-12 would have taken Texas and Oklahoma? It would be the Pac-14 and who knows, maybe a super conference at this point in time. They screwed up big time. And now the Pac-12 is the Pac-2, Oregon State and Washington State.
It's sad because growing up, I mean, the Pac, for me, I'm 67. The Pac-12 was big time. I mean, it was, and games were on, late in the afternoon or late at night on Saturday, and you'd bet those games on Saturday night at starting at 10 p.m. or whatever, and then you had the Rose Bowl that was like the game back then. It was the game, right? Big Ten, Pac-12, and you had USC, UCLA, all those great players. Washington State. I remember Warren Moon won at one time. You had all those great teams, and now it's like it's just disintegrated. It's sad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just look at the Big Ten in baseball. Only 4 teams got included into the tournament, and 3 of them were Pac-12 schools: UCLA, USC, crazy. And Oregon.
Yeah, I know.
It's I mean, hey, myself, Sax, and you, John. Our New Year's Day revolved around the Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl.
It was Rose
The
Bowl.
Rose Bowl. Everything was planned for the whole day around the Rose Bowl.
The granddaddy of them all.
You ate, who came over, where you were going. It was all around the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't even exist.
Sunset in Pasadena on the Rose Bowl it's iconic. And to Coach Vince's point, I mean, the Pac-12, Cal, and Stanford, they didn't get over themselves and they got passed by.
And then their egos,
the market just ran right over them.
Stanford's egos got the best of them. And instead of staying and keeping the Pac-12 somewhat intact, we're going to run off to the ACC. Well, have fun with that, playing a tennis match on a Thursday afternoon at Boston College.
It's stupid. It's really
Smart.
dumb. I mean, what they did. I remember the first time I went to California on a business trip, that wherever Pasadena is, right? It's where is it? Then somewhere in the mid area.
Gabriel Mountains.
Yeah. Anyway, wherever I was about 2 hours from there, and I took half a day off and drove to the Rose Bowl. Just drove my rental car there, walked around the stadium like 3 times, and then went back. I mean, because that's what you grew up with, and it was like, wow, this is it. Here it is, the Rose Bowl. It was like in the middle of the summer or something. But, you kind of grew up with that, and now it's just dead. It's a shame. Yeah, it really is. So I don't know what's going to happen with this NIL money, but there's got to be some parameters around it. And whatever the ruling is, it's going to get appealed immediately. And, where all this kind of has over decades is why now all of a sudden the athlete is being awarded all this money is all these contracts that head coaches at the D1 level signed, and the shoe contracts they got. I mean, go back 30 years ago, when John Thompson, the head coach at Georgetown, he was signing unheard of money at the time, $5 million contracts so his team could wear Nike. And these coaches would sign these just huge contracts that meant nothing because they could sign their contract and then 2 months later leave that institution and sign a bigger contract with another institution. So we saw kind of like portal stuff happening with coaches. Makes sense.
Which we saw in West Virginia basketball this year. I mean, if they're going to start paying these kids like pro athletes, why not just do entire parameters of a pro organization? Turn college football into the NFL, same contracts. Imagine if Joe Burrow, after watching his defense just be trash all year, decides, hey, I'm going to transfer to the Lions next year. Like, it's not feasible. It's ridiculous. If you're going to pay them like that and treat them like pro athletes, just put all the parameters of a professional sports league.
That's what it should be, because that's essentially what it is today. The transfer portal is free agency, essentially.
Absolutely.
I agree with John completely. There needs to be contracts involved with this, so you can't have players, because we see this all the time. There are players that will be at 4 different schools throughout 4 seasons, sometimes 5 different schools throughout 5 seasons. It's terrible for the sport.
It's all 3-4 year contracts. You can't leave. If you don't play, you got your money tough. Ride the bench with it. Like,
I agree. Yeah.
Grow up.
And we know what's happening. Every kid has an agent, and they're all talking to these general managers for these programs, and they're constantly switching up. So they're and the agent's chirping in the kid's ear, we can go to so-and-so and get better money this year. So basically pull out this year and don't worry about this year, because we'll get much better money somewhere else. That's insanity. And it's teaching these kids really bad lessons.
Didn't a similar situation like that just happen with the Tennessee quarterback, like maybe a couple months ago?
Yep.
Props to Josh.
I thought so.
Tell that kid to kick rocks. If he wants to play that, I'm so glad they told him to get out of there. That's fantastic.
He got some bad advice there, because he's not getting paid near the money that he was at Tennessee. He's now at UCLA.
Yeah, and the taxes. He's losing. Like,
Yeah,
he got what he deserved. I'll leave it at
you're
that.
preaching to the choir.
Well, I think we need more of that. What the Tennessee football coach did is we need more of that. Basically, when the kid didn't show up, I think for one of the practices for the blue whatever that spring game is, he didn't show up, and he didn't call his quarterback's coach, which is his liaison, his first liaison. Like on baseball, your first call is to your pitching coach if something's happening. He didn't call his quarterback coach, and the head coach, I forget his name, told him to pack his bags and get the hell out. And
yeah,
I mean,
hey, John, do you know what? The head coach at Oregon is the one that sent to Heupel at Tennessee and going, "Hey, your quarterback is shopping himself around right now." That's hey, major kudos to the Oregon coach.
Big time.
Because a lot of coaches would do that. They would kind of like lie in the weeds, like, hey, maybe we can grab him. But he actually reached out to the Tennessee coach and said, "Hey, your quarterback is marketing himself right now," and that's where Heupel took the, basically said, "Pack your bags and I guess go off to Westwood and enjoy UCLA."
No, I mean, he got him out of there the same day.
Absolutely.
Because you have to do that, because now the players basically have all the power, right? Because of the open portal situation. I mean, we have, I know a situation on a baseball team where one of the players that came in the portal didn't start the first couple games, whatever, and basically went to the head coach and said, either start me or I quit. I'm just leaving. I'll just quit and go to a JUCO, and you're still going to pay me the money, right? So, because you already got some of it. And then, the coach acquiesced. Well, the message that sends to the whole team is horrible. It's basically,
bad.
Anybody that comes in here and threatens me, I'm going to acquiesce. But what does that teach the player? I mean, what does that do for you as you go forward as a young man in your life? It doesn't do crap, because that's not the way the world works.
Prima donnas with way too much money that think they're way better than they are.
Yep.
That was the craziest part with Nico. It's not like he's Arch Manning. He's not Cade Klubnik. He's not Cam Ward. He's not an elite quarterback by any means. And he's out here shopping himself thinking that he's the next Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, dude, it's a false sense of reality.
Remember John Wooden, what he told Bill Walton when Bill Walton said he wasn't going to cut his hair? Well, we're going to miss you around here.
I mean, it's almost like Coach Vince said now, and the way Heupel handled it, and the coach at Oregon, it's going to be up to the coaches to make the statement. I mean, look, Matthew, as a Clemson fan, Debo Sweeney will not go in the portal, will not do any of this. He says, I recruit in high school, I develop my players. If you want to come here and you want to get better, and then you want to go out as a well-rounded young man with a great education and have a great life ahead of you, this is the program to come. If you're looking for money and glitz and you want to go in the portal and this and that, and you don't want to work, no, you just go somewhere else, take the money, and I'll let the chips fall where they may. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how long he can sustain that, but so far he has.
I think he's weathered the storm, and I'd say as a fan, it was definitely frustrating at first because it feels like you're competing a leg down, not using the portal. I mean, I personally thought you're not giving yourself the best chance to win when a star goes into the portal, and you're like, but at the same time, to your point, I think the coach is setting the precedent. He got in return what he offered. I mean, you go back, you see a lot of Clemson players coming back for fourth years that were first, second round picks after year 3, but they were like, I want to stay here, develop as a young man, and then still got their NFL money after year 4. I mean, he got it in return. It's a two-way street. So I think if these coaches can set that precedent and kind of preach, I think they get what they deserve is the best way to put it.
Well, I'll never forget Coach Vince, one of the statements that Debo Sweeney made when he was getting all kinds of criticism. He said, I'm just not going to do it. And he said, we're going to put our money and our time and effort, not in the portal, but in the development of our players, both physically, academically, mentally, emotionally. We're going to put it into making them better at what they do. That's our signature. And if you want to do that, come here. If you don't, I understand. Go somewhere else. What a statement, Vince, to make.
Yeah. No, Coach Sweeney is, you can count him on one hand as far as the credibility and the success that he's had at his level for a number of years. I mean, let's be honest with Dabo Sweeney too. I mean, he's an Alabama grad. I would have bet my house that when Nick Saban stepped down, Dabo Sweeney was going to take the money and run off to Tuscaloosa, and he didn't. And man, hats off to him for that. I mean, that should be able to sign you some 5-star recruits right there. Just the loyalty he's had to that institution. Yeah, so if he's got the loyalty and he's not taking the big check and bouncing around to another university, he expects the same of his players as well too, to stick around Clemson.
Yeah.
Well, it goes to that we were talking about Florida Panthers, right? You talk about a coach who builds a program and can balance the money with the development of the student athlete and what they're really selling, and then can stick to that and be true to that while they're developing that program. It's really difficult in today's environment to not have that 5-star come in that your alumni are just pounding you for. It's like, get that guy, get that guy, get that guy. Like, he's not worth it. He's not worth it on this team and in this program. He is a cancer, and we're just not going to do that. We're going to do things this way. We believe it is the right way. That is how the market functions. And how great would it be to have Nick Saban go back to Kent State and say, you know what? This is my alma mater. I want to create something here that is the way I coach football, and to see how that would develop in the NCAA. And it's not going to happen. I would love to have seen it happen just for the purity of the game and just to challenge the system within. But for folks like Dabo Sweeney who can do this and pull it up and try to be successful and hopefully be successful for his program. Not that I'm rooting for Clemson, God knows, but I would root for the sport, and have a coach like that I would want to root for. And see them succeed in the system to challenge it and make it more to the amateur level of excellence that we've all come to know.
Well, you think
over the
too
years.
of the type of young man that is drawn to that vision, that is drawn to that culture. Over time, I would think you're going to draw certain young men that want to participate in that type of clean environment where, hey, I'm going to come here, I'm going to get better. I know I'm going to work harder than any other college team works, because that's kind of what the ethic is here, but I'm going to get better. So you think about, I'm going to pass up the portal, I'm going to pass up the money, but I'm going to come here for a reason. You think over time, what do you think, guys, that over time they're going to attract a very unique young man that I think is going to translate into success on the field?
Absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, obviously biased, but there's pride. You see all these guys bouncing from school to school. There's no allegiance. There's no pride. Cade Klubnik, I mean, it was a weak quarterback class this year. He could have got his money. He could have got out, but he made it very clear. I want to come back. I think we're a top 5 program. Like, I love this school. I love this coach. I love this team. I want to come back and I want to win. And I mean, I personally feel you don't see that much. You don't see people that want to play for the school, for the people around them. They just want the money. They don't care where it is, how they get it, which –
Cade's probably getting paid something.
Don't get me wrong. Klubnik is getting a fat check to come back. It's not like don't. Yeah,
right.
I don't want to mislead.
But there's that's
I don't want
balance,
to mislead. Yeah,
right?
he's making a ton of money here. There's no hiding that.
But it's like JJ. It's JJ Weatherholt, who we're going to see, West Virginia star, who we're going to see in the major leagues.
Absolutely.
I think he's ranked like in minor league players right now. He's like in the top 10 or 15. I saw the other day, but he was offered a ton of money to leave West Virginia as a junior, and he wanted to play for Maisie, Coach Maisie, in his final season. And he went to Maisie. This is a true story. And he said, "Look, I've been offered all this money. I just need you guys to come close, right? I don't need you to match it, but here's what I've been offered. I want to stay here. I want to play for Maisie, period. I want to play for my fans. I just need you to come close." And they did. And he got about 80% or 75% of what the other people were offering. And he stayed because he believed in the university. He wanted to be there for Coach Maisie, who had an extraordinary culture that I don't think you're going to see there going forward. And he came back, and you don't see that. And now you look at JJ, and there's about 2 or 3 seasons he's going to play. He's going to be starting outfielder, St. Louis Cardinals, no doubt. but it talks to the character of the young man. Agree?
100%.
Yeah, exactly. But and when you're and the coaches, and I know Coach Vince probably knows this much more than we do. More and more, you're going to be talking to the parents at this global level of this person's development, and getting into that and selling your program to look out for the totality, the whole development of that young man or that young lady to get them to be their fullest person in life. Because look, a lot of these guys aren't going pro, but they got a chance to make money now, and to use it for their long-term benefit. You know, when you get into a mom's head, like, I'm going to take care of your son, and this is what I'm going to do for your son, and you deliver, and they know you're going to deliver. When mom says go, you go, right? Because that's part of the process. You know, at my daughter's wedding, John, I said there's 3 things everyone looks for in life: to be known, to be loved, and to belong. And so many young men want to belong to something that really matters in life. And we're seeing this as an epidemic, that young men do not have that in their lives. And I hope colleges and their programs start developing that more and more for these young men, because it's a tremendous responsibility.
Well said. Well said. I think there's going to be a major culture shift one way or the other as this whole thing plays out. And look, I see it with my own son, and you're right about mom. I mean, to get Joe to go 3,500 miles away from Washington, D.C., where see you in August, you know, and you've never really been that far from home, and he's the baby. Not that he's a baby, he's 21, but of the family. You know how moms are. I mean, Coach Cotta had to get her buy-in, period, because it's still mom. I mean, even though he's 21, he could be in the Army, he could get drafted. You know, she still has a say. And so once she talked to him, she was like, yeah, this is it. He's go, you know? So you're right. But, you know, as far as the parents are out there, you don't want to be one of those dads. There was some guy just came out with a documentary the other day. It was called Quarterback Dads. And it was like blasting all these fathers that are just involved in everything. And it was a disaster, like one after the other. And he was saying, hey, if you're a dad of a player, don't do this stuff. Now, I'm not. Coach Vince knows that. But you got a lot of these dads out there, especially with big money involved, that inject themselves right in the system, and they're, you know, texting the head coaches or whatever. It's just stupid, because your player's he's gotta function on his or her own. You know, you can give advice like all dads do. Saxman and I do, and I know Vince does. You got to give advice to your sons and daughters. That's why we're here. That's what fathers do. But to inject yourself directly into the system, bad idea, Chris. And,
do you think that factored into Shedeur Sanders' draft pick this year?
God, who wants him around?
He's dead.
I mean, let's be honest. There's an asset and a liability in life, and they check
Vince,
both boxes.
how do you deal with the dad, one of those dads? How do you deal with that? Of which, by the way, I'm not one of those. I'm the opposite, but one of those dads.
Yeah, they can be difficult. They can be difficult. But the one thing I always try to do is, you know, obviously you have to recruit the parents when you're recruiting a kid. There's no question about it. And sometimes that's mom, sometimes that's dad, sometimes that's both. But the one thing I try to tell, once the kid commits to me and says he's coming to Taft College, I'm going, listen, my conversations with your parents have now officially ended when it comes to playing time, whatever. You know, if they want to help the program in any capacity, I'm more than willing to allow that. But only I fill out the lineup card.
You know, John, when I was coaching Little League with my sons that were playing, you know, have the season meeting with the parents at the beginning, and I would say, look, you know, I'm here to help develop your young man. Odds are they're not going pro. I'm helping them to develop a lifelong love of this game, and you can have that experience for the rest of their lives with yours. But I have to tell you, if you come to me and you're questioning my judgment and in playing time, I'm going to ask you in front of your son, do you throw the baseball with him in the yard every night for half an hour? Because if you don't answer that question affirmatively, I don't want to hear from you. You have a responsibility as a parent to sit in the stands and cheer your son on. At the age of 10, I don't need complaints. I need support. And if you're not going to support and develop this child at home in the backyard, don't come to me, because I will call you out in front of your son. And guess how many complaints I got throughout the year?
Well, you got to set the standards. Speaking about setting the standards, for the first thing you got to do to be a good dad is you got to get a good night's sleep. You've got to sleep your 8 hours. And the best way to do that is with REM sleep for Healthy Cell. I've been taking it now for about a 2-year period. And I got in late last night. I was a little wired. Obviously, went to the game, and Joe had an excellent outing, so it was kind of fun. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm on. I don't know. Am I on Western time, Eastern time? What time I have to get up? There's a 3-hour difference. I better go to bed. I'm kind of wired. You know, I had a beer or two at the game, which was fun. And so I took my Healthy Cell. 15 minutes, man, I was out dreaming in that deep sleep, because what Healthy Cell does with your REM sleep is it will put you in that 4th stage of sleep where you're dreaming, and then you jump out of bed, you feel like a new person. Go to healthycell.com/Godzilla, healthycell.com/Godzilla, promo code Godzilla, 20% off. Get your REM sleep now. Just take it. It's just doesn't take 2 weeks, doesn't take a month, doesn't take 3 days. It takes 15 minutes. All natural, non-habitual. Just take that. The first night, you're going to sleep like a baby, and then you're going to be like, REM sleep from Healthy Cell. Where have you been all my life? It's a great night's sleep is fantastic. Now, I know who took Healthy Cell 2 nights ago, and that was Framber Valdez of the Astros, who pitched a complete game yesterday, threw 85 pitches, beat the Rays 2-1, walk-off home run, bottom of the 9th by Yanner Diaz. All of a sudden, guys, I look up today, no Yordan Alvarez. He's been out and maybe comes back this weekend. All of a sudden, I look up, Astros in first place yet once again, first place, 31-26. But the surprise team to me is why aren't the Dodgers running away with their division? Can anybody figure this out? They bought all the best players. They only got a 2-game lead over San Diego. They don't win on the road. What's the deal with the Dodgers, Vince?
Well, you know what? The National League West is a tough division. I think one of the biggest surprises this year is my San Francisco Giants. I mean, they're playing good baseball. They're struggling a little bit offensively, but they pitch it. They play good defense, which is tailor-made for their park that they play in. It's a pitcher-friendly park. Of course, the Padres are very good. Think about the Diamondbacks. 2 years ago, they were in the World Series. Mm-hmm. So the NL West, with the exception of the Colorado Rockies, is a very good division, and probably arguably one of the top 2 divisions in all of baseball.
Any other shockers out there other than, I mean, everybody thought that LA was going to run away with it. They actually have a losing record on the road, the Dodgers do. So remember that. Obviously, the Tigers playing extraordinary baseball, 6-game lead over Minnesota. You look at Atlanta right now, Chris, 9.5 games out. 9.5 games out, 8 games out of the wild card. They have to turn the season around now, or they're not going to make the playoffs.
They're really good. Acuna just came back, right?
Home run on first pitch.
Hello, I'm back. They're going to be there. They're just too talented, too good. You'll see them come on late in the summer. St. Louis has rebounded very nicely in the NL Central, which is, that's a great organization. That speaks to the organizational strength, frankly, for the Astros, the Cardinals, and the Braves themselves. But that's just the nature of baseball, and the Dodgers will be there. They'll make the changes. They'll make the trades. They have the money. They don't care. They're going to stroke the checks. But I do like the fact that the Giants are playing better baseball this year. That's a nice little comeback for them. It's obviously a great ballpark, great organization there as well. So, it's baseball, right? What are you going to do? I'm just thrilled that this morning at 5:30 in the morning, I'm watching the highlights from the Pirates. I didn't throw my phone at the Starbucks watching the call through the third strike with bases loaded. Wasn't even over the plate. It was inside and low. And because that ump show had to give the punch out for his first night in the big leagues. What a chump. Send him back to Oswego.
Give us the background on that game.
Oh, 3-2 in San Diego. The Pirates, top of the 8th, bases loaded, 3-2 pitch, inside and low, punch out, third call strike, ends the inning for the Pirates. Would have tied the game in San Diego. The Pirates been playing better baseball, but more inspired baseball. And they just got the short end of the stick on that one. As McCutchen told the team in the clubhouse afterwards, look, we're not playing great baseball. We're not going to get the calls. That's just how this game rolls, and that's not the way it should be. Unfortunately, that's the way the game is. And it was a rookie umpire got called up, I think, for this game, and he's behind the plate, and he missed it, but he gave that dramatic little punch out. Congratulations, you chump. And the coach for the Pirates got tossed. I think it's the third game he's been tossed since he's replaced Shelton. So it just you're on the road in San Diego. It's a great ball club, and you're 3-2. Mitch Keller, the poor guy's throwing a 3.73 ERA, and he's 1-7 now. You just can't get the breaks.
What are the Pirates? Brendan, what are the Pirates going to do? I mean, what is Nutty going to do? I don't understand what they're doing here. They have a beautiful park. They don't win. They don't spend any money. They're not going to sign Skeens. That's just a matter of time. He'll end up with the Dodgers, the Yankees, or the Mets. Everybody knows that's coming. I mean, what is the purpose of this?
To make money. I mean, the Pirates are not a serious franchise anymore. People still show up to the games for whatever reason, not very many, but all they got to do is promote a new bobblehead that everyone wants, and all of a sudden they pack the seats. Nutting's still making money off the team. He's not going to sell it out to anybody that is serious about building a winning team in Pittsburgh. As long as he's making money, he couldn't care less. I mean, it's the same thing every year. The Pirates are basically a minor league team placed within the major leagues. We are basically the New York Yankees minor league team. You could bet that Paul Skeens is going to be a New York Yankee here within the next few years. He's not going to stay here once his value goes up more. It's just we just import players to the Cubs, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the bigger markets. I mean, it's not a serious franchise, and as long as people continue to go to games at PNC Park, it's not going to change. You have to hit Bob Nutting in the wallet if you want serious change with this team. But I don't think Pittsburghers are ever going to be willing to do that.
If they don't bring up Bubba Chandler here in a couple of weeks after the June call-ups, and they got Braxton Ashcroft, they brought him in, they put him in long middle relief. Chandler is an outstanding talent. If they don't say, okay, we're going to bring this in, and we're going to solidify the rotation. Okay, great baseball thinking. But you have to show the fans and the organization from within that you're going to bring in and develop the free agents that can actually win and not just fill out a lineup card.
You make money by losing, Brendan. That's the problem.
That's exactly the problem. That's the entire problem with the Pirates, because the Pirates draft phenomenal players. We've had some phenomenal players come here. I mean, we've had Garrett Cole. We look at what Charlie Morton did for the longest time. Now we have Paul Skeens. You could go down the line of the great players that come through Pittsburgh, but as soon as their value goes up, what do? They ship them off to a bigger market for either another prospect or some cash, and it's just wash, rinse, repeat. It's been the same story for the last how many years? For the last 20 at least.
They can't make the financial mistake that other organizations can. They just can't, and that's what they're trapped in. And this Major League Baseball needs a salary cap and a salary floor.
But Saxon, do you think that they're even trying to build a team here in Pittsburgh, a competitive team? Because I don't think so.
Honestly, really? I do.
Wow,
I do. Yeah, I think the rotation. Look, the cupboard was bare. They've got a great rotation in the process. It's really coming along. I like their rotation. But if they didn't, but the fact that they didn't sign any free agents
building
here,
a team is you got to sign Skeens. I mean, you got to sign them right now.
I don't disagree.
They just got to sign these players. You got to sign them. I mean, look, I'm an Astro fan. We're having the same problem. Like, sign Framber. Like, you're not going to sign him. He's going to leave. So we win games, and we're still, players are leaving. It's destroying the game. You got to sign these guys. And the teams that refuse to do it, but they still get the fan base, and we still go out and back the teams, and our players are leaving, and it's pissing everybody off, but they continue to make money.
If they don't sign any credible free agent players, position players next year, and sign some legitimate bats, not Spencer Horowitz, I mean, you got to go for guys who can hit 270.
All right, guys, we're out of time. We got to go. All I know is Astros in first place when I got up today. Yay. Thanks for being with us on Godzilla Wins. Don't forget, I'll be live 6 a.m. bright and early on Monday. Looking forward to you there. Right now, golf with Jay Delson. Up next.